Alrighty, what is going on, everybody? It's Tanner, aka the Texas Gentleman, here with Radio Tekkers special, a little short special clip here. I'm with my good friend and Radio Tekkers field analyst Chris. Chris, how's it going?
I'm doing a lot better than I was last night. I'll tell you that much, Tanner. For those of you who don't know, we tried doing this last night. It really didn't go well. So hopefully it'll go a lot better this time.
I think so. Let's talk about perhaps the biggest football news all summer, if not of the century. Lionel Messi, after 20 years being at Barcelona, has moved on and signed with PSG, Paris Saint-Germain. He'll be playing in Ligue 1 this year.
Going Scunthorpe away, this Messi.
Yeah, the League One sponsored by Uber Eats. He'll be playing there. Chris, shocking move. But why? Why PSG, Chris? Why would Messi sign for PSG?
I know, it's absolutely shocking, honestly. Realistically, you have to think that there's only a limited number of clubs that will be able to afford Lionel Messi. There's only a few clubs that aren't in a complete financial hole made because of coronavirus. That's the whole reason why Messi had to leave Barcelona in the first place, was because of the hole that Barcelona put themselves in. And realistically, there's certain clubs who could probably afford to stretch their finances, but there's really only two clubs that really could afford to incorporate Messi into the fold like right now, and that's Manchester City and PSG. Manchester City have already spent £100 million on Jack Grealish. They're looking potentially like they're edging closer to a £150 million move for Harry Kane. So that's £250 million just on transfer fees on two players. So really that sort of limits Messi's options just to PSG, who have already had a brilliant transfer window by not spending barely any money on transfer fees. It was just Hakimi who they brought in for a fee, but then you see the likes of Donnarumma, Sergio Ramos, Wijnaldum coming in all on free transfers. So PSG could definitely afford Messi, and it just seemed like the natural thing for Messi to just slot in there.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you brought up Ramos. You brought up all these other players that PSG has brought in. We'll get to those players here in just a moment, because obviously that's a very important piece of the puzzle going on right now. But let's talk about some players that are already there right now, before this transfer window even kicked off and before Messi was even an idea in terms of coming to PSG. What are the ramifications here for players like Neymar or Mbappe? Or Angel Di Maria, because a lot of the online speculation is you can't play them all. Can you?
Well, I don't necessarily think it's out of the question. I think a lot of things that we've seen from all three of those PSG front threes, we've seen that all three of them can play all across the front line. We've seen them all play on the left. We've seen them play down the middle. Di Maria more than the other two, but Mbappe and Neymar both can play on the right as well. So it's not like they aren't tactically flexible. And I feel like you could slot Messi in there. We have seen PSG deploy a sort of 4-2-3-1 with Verratti going in as a 10. Last season, we saw that quite a bit under Pochettino. So that is something that potentially could happen if you shifted Verratti back or just replaced him with Lionel Messi in that 10 spot, and then you could have a sort of fluid front four. I know a lot of people have speculated that this could mean that Mbappe is on his way out come next season. I don't necessarily think that will be the case. I think obviously a lot of clubs will be after his signature, but I think the fact that Mbappe is from Paris, I think he'll want to stay at PSG ideally. If PSG can create an environment in which he wants to stay, and a way by doing that would be winning the Champions League. I think that would be a very good bargaining power for PSG to have. And I think this is definitely a way to do it. So I think that should PSG win the Champions League, which, let's be honest, they should be doing now that they have Lionel Messi, then I think that Mbappe, I won't be surprised to see him sign on for a new contract. And then we've got a front three that can rival some of the great front threes of the past.
Of course. I mean, you hit up on a lot of points here, and I'll try and pick them apart just real quick. You mentioned.
Sorry, I'm very scatterbrained here.
No, you're fine. I think you hit the nail on the head in terms of tactical flexibility, because if there's anybody who is a tactically flexible manager in any league around the world, the first two names that come to my mind is Mauricio Pochettino and Thomas Tuchel over in Chelsea. And I think that Messi's making the right choice in going to PSG with a lot of the Argentinian links there that they have. Obviously, Pochettino's from the same part of Argentina that Messi is. Di Maria is there. Paredes is there. Neymar is there. And Messi says it himself in the press conference that he's there to play with the best. So I think that makes a lot of sense. Tactically speaking here, we've seen Messi's role at Barcelona evolve many, many times over the years. Many, many times. You touched on it a little bit here. But ideally speaking, where would Messi fit in at this PSG team if you were Mauricio Pochettino?
If I were Mauricio Pochettino, I think that there's a lot of things that you can do with Messi. I think something that Messi has shown consistently throughout his career, obviously, one of the main assets of his game is his creativity, especially as he's got older. That is something that sort of flourished and sort of come to the forefront. I've got some nerd numbers here. PSG on average, per 90, created a shot creating action. They created 24.16 shot creating actions per 90. So that's sort of like a dribble that leads to a shot on target, or a key pass that leads to a shot on target. The highest three people who did that, obviously, as you'd expect, are the front three. Neymar with an 8.27, whose average will be higher because he played fewer minutes. He only played about 1,300 minutes last season. Di Maria with 6.22 and Mbappe with 4.05. Messi in the past 4 seasons has had a 7.14, a 7.27, a 6.87, and a 7.17 shot creating action per 90. So obviously, with the exception of Neymar, who you can't really read too much into those numbers because of the limited minutes that he had last season, I feel like that's sort of the creativity that he shows will really help sort of flourish. Get Mbappe, if you've got Mbappe and Neymar running either side, it's a lot easier to feed Neymar and Mbappe than it is Martin Braithwaite. I'll say that.
You're probably right.
Yeah, and obviously, there's just more numbers. Messi last season created 86 big chances. The most in PSG's last season was Neymar with 64. And just even in terms of raw goals and assists, Messi had 39 from a non-penalty XG of 30.3 last season. So he's really exceeding his non-penalty XG. And he had a goal and assist at every 77 minutes, which, in a team like Barcelona, that's just exceptional. And Mbappe, by comparison, who had the best goals or assists in PSG last season, had 34 from a non-penalty XG of 24.7, which means he had a goal or assist every 70 minutes. So they are comparable numbers. I think you've got to take into account, obviously, Mbappe is playing in a better team in a worse league. So obviously that's something to take into account. But they are very capable. Now, I will say one thing that PSG could potentially lose out on if they bring Messi into the side, because a lot of people are talking about a straight swap between Di Maria, swapping him and slotting Messi in on that right-hand side, which would make sense. But one thing that they would lose out is a lot of the pressing that Di Maria brings, because Neymar and Mbappe, they don't really do much defensive work. So Di Maria sort of covers for the entire front three. So that is something that they would potentially have to counter if they brought Messi into that side. But, it's a small price to pay to get the best player in the world in your team.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to ask was, being devil's advocate here, I listened to Tifo IRL. They are a bunch of great guys. They're obviously associated with The Athletic. They have a big production value that we aspire to have. But you look at the defensive action stats. from Messi and Neymar and Mbappe, and it's not really thrilling.
No.
Obviously, they are going to be a very entertaining attacking lineup to watch. But could they be? Could people be over expecting? Could we be overrating this attacking trio, maybe in comparison to, the classic MSN lineup, like the Messi, Neymar, and Suarez, or even maybe more recently the Mane, Salah, and Firmino attacking trident that Liverpool has.
You had to sneak that one in there, didn't you?
I mean, it's a great trio.
Liverpool,
It's a great trio. So I mean,
it is. You can't deny that. I mean, I don't necessarily think that they're going to be missing out on too much. I mean, if you look at, for example, if you compare this sort of setup to the Barcelona when they had the MSN lineup, the Messi, Suarez, Neymar. One of the main things that Luis Enrique did was, they sat deep, Barcelona, and then they hit teams on the counter-attack really effectively. And because, you had Neymar, Suarez, and Messi, who didn't do much defensive work, they were able to overwhelm defenses because of their quality, but also because of their numbers. They kept players high up the pitch. And I think the fact that they had, a rock-solid number 6 like Sergio Busquets really helped out with that. It allowed them to keep players high up the pitch. And I think that could be, a real benefit is bringing Sergio Ramos, because we've seen the main partnership last season at PSG was Kimpembe and Marquinhos. Obviously, Marquinhos is the captain, Kimpembe is the vice-captain of PSG. So you'd think that most of them, that one of them isn't going to miss out a lot. So something that we have seen, not just under Pochettino, but also under Tuchel, was Marquinhos shifting forward into that defensive midfielder role. And that could be something that really helps to sort of nullify attacks and help, with the transition period, is having that rock-solid number 6. Also, you've got Verratti, who's, a constant runner. You've got Idrissa Gueye, who's, again, he gets all over the pitch. Obviously, bringing in Gini Wijnaldum, that's something that he was renowned for at Liverpool. Obviously, we'll see if he can recreate it at PSG. Ander Herrera is another one who's, a very big runner. I can't think of the term.
Big runner.
He's a big runner.
He's got high work rate. He's
got a high work rate. Yeah,
he's box to box midfielder. He can be. He can do.
Yeah.
He wears a lot of hats.
Exactly, yeah. But I mean, there's a lot of big runners in that PSG midfield, so I don't necessarily think that could be a drawback for Barcelona. Not Barcelona, PSG. Sorry.
It's going to take some time to get used to that.
It is, sure. Yeah. It still looks weird. Messi in a number 30 PSG shirt. Oh,
it's very surreal.
Don't look right.
But I like what you're saying about the tactical flexibility, especially with Marquinhos, because that is something that we saw. Tuchel do at PSG, and it looks like Pochettino's certainly not afraid of experimenting in that regard, where you could have Marquinhos line up as the 6, or he can move up, or he can also shift back, in a 4-3-3, and basically turns it into a 4-3 or a 3-4-3 formation, where he's in the back line with Ramos, Kimpembe, and then you've got Wijnaldum and Verratti spraying passes out wide or directly up to your Messis, your Neymars, and your Mbappes. So that's nice to have. Let's talk about their transfer window, PSG's transfer window as a whole here, because you dropped some names here. Gini Wijnaldum, helped lead Liverpool to their first Premier League title in 30 years, won the Champions League with Liverpool, so one of the unsung heroes of the Klopp era for Liverpool. Achraf Hakimi, perhaps one of the best wide players that you'll find on the planet. Gianluigi Donnarumma, probably the best Italian goalkeeping prospect since Gigi Buffon, and I feel like we have to emphasize Sergio Ramos, captain of Real Madrid, former captain of Real Madrid, serial winner, Tony Montana impersonator, and now Lionel Messi, the perhaps the greatest football player to lace a pair of boots. this has to be the best transfer window of any team ever, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing off the top of my head that can compare to it. I mean, the fact that obviously, we say the term free transfer, and obviously they're not free. You've got your signing on fees and your wages and all that lot, but they are essentially free. And if you're not going to say they're free, they are heavily discounted then. But yeah, to bring in, like you say, there's nothing much more you can say, really. Sergio Ramos, serial winner. It'll allow for more tactical flexibility with Marquinhos shifting forward. Hakimi is coming to replace Florenzi, who was on loan there last season. And like you say, he's one of the best right-backs that you find on the market. There's not really too many players off the top of my head that could compare to him. And I think that could really help as well. The fact that if you do deploy Messi on that right-hand side, what he's like. He will play quite narrow. So if you have Hakimi bombing forward with those overlapping runs, I mean, we saw, the success that Dani Alves had at Barcelona doing those overlapping runs. So, it'd be interesting to see if that can be replicated with Hakimi. Mm-hmm. Wijnaldum as well, he's another one who can add to that already, really solid PSG midfield. There's a lot of grit, a lot of steel in that midfield, and that's something that Wijnaldum will add to. And yeah, Donnarumma as well. Absolutely, stud goalkeeper. I think this season, he's not really going to feature too much. I think in pre-season we've seen a lot that Keylor Navas seems to be. Maurizio Pochettino. He's Pochettino's...
Maurizio Pochettino, I like that.
He's Maurizio Pochettino's number one. Yeah, we've seen that a lot, which Keylor Navas, is a heavily underrated goalkeeper, in my opinion. Yeah. He's, one of the best in the world. So having Donnarumma play his understudy for, a season or two, as, Navas is not necessarily winding down his career, but he's getting older. And obviously Donnarumma is only going to get better and better. So having Donnarumma be Navas's understudy for a season, we'll probably see him in cup games in Europe. We'll probably see him quite a bit. So yeah, I don't necessarily think that's the worst thing in the world. And obviously, if you can sign Donnarumma on a free, that's brilliant. Like, you're going to do that, aren't you?
You should do that. Yes,
exactly.
You need to take advantage of that moment.
Yeah, 100%.
So again, people have been talking about, PSG being a farmers league. Not naming any names, Matt.
I will, Matt. Yeah.
So, obviously, the goal here seems to be PSG wants to win this very peculiar Cold War between them and Manchester City as to who's going to win the Champions League first between these two moneyed clubs. Obviously, both are taking very interesting approaches, and we can't discount Chelsea, the reigning European champions here. But I mean, are they good enough to beat this PSG team to the Champions League? Aren't PSG Champions League favorites? Duh, right?
Well, in my mind, they are. I know, according to the bookies, they still have Manchester City as the favourites, with PSG as the second favourites. But I mean, that's probably a bit skewed. Obviously, it's based more on how people bet than the actual likeliness of stuff happening. And if it's in English bookies, there's going to be more people betting on English clubs. But it does sort of show that mindset of, like you say, a Cold War is sort of like the perfect term to describe it. The fact that you're having Man City, under Guardiola, spending big. They're buying Grealish, could potentially be buying Kane. Obviously, you've got PSG on the other side with Pochettino, bringing in Messi, Ramos, Hakimi. We've already rattled off all these names. Obviously, it's a knockout tournament, so anyone can get drawn against anyone at any time. But I would not be surprised to see a Manchester City PSG Champions League final next season. I feel like both of those teams are more than good enough to win the Champions League. And yeah, I would feel like PSG are the favourites now. But we shouldn't discount other clubs. I mean, obviously, Bayern Munich's going to be hit big by Hansi Flick leaving. But they're still, the powerhouses of football. Obviously, you mentioned Chelsea, the reigning European champions. Liverpool, we can't discount. I mean, I know that's going to, grow your ego 3 sizes today. But, with Van Dijk coming back, obviously we don't know how he's going to play, but bringing Kanate, they are still contenders, no matter how much FSG seem intent on making that not the case. Manchester United could be potentially pushing on. They've had a brilliant summer. There's contenders all over. But like you say, for me, it feels like it has to be PSG's year, surely. If you can't win the Champions League with this team, then you're never going to win it.
I agree. I absolutely agree. So we'll see how this season pans out. I'm excited. Hopefully, I can watch more Ligue 1, this season than I have in seasons past. Maybe get an extra pair of eyes on it now that the GOAT is playing in the Farmers League. Yeah, good stuff. We'll leave you guys a link to the Barcelona conversation that myself and Chris had with Matt. We'll leave it right where Chris is saying.
Right there, right where I'm pointing.
Over there. It'll
click the eye.
Yeah, we'll drop you the link with the eye there, so you can watch that video as well. Because that's a fun time. That's a really good video, and I think you guys would like that video. It tells you all that you need to know about Messi leaving Barcelona, I think. Yeah. But until then, Chris, where can more people find you out there on the internet?
You can find it right there. I figured out which hands to use as well now. It's great.
It's this one.
You can find me right there at Chris_BFC_. That's my Twitter. Find me there. Yeah.
Chris does excellent work with the Clarets Report as well, so you should definitely check that out because he's
follow that.
Yeah, he's doing all the work as far as Burnley transfer rumors and news. So definitely go and check that out there. For Chris, I am Tanner, aka the Texas Gentleman. You can find me at my Twitter handle right there, right next to me. And then check out some of these other great videos. It's gonna be awesome.
And follow Radio Tekkers as well. You forgot that. You've got to plug that down there. Below where it says my name, it says Radio Tekkers at.
You should
follow them.
Follow that.
Yeah. That's good.
That covers the whole.
Because he doesn't use it. He doesn't use it. He's selfish.
It covers the whole channel. It's football. It's football. It's MMA. It's pro wrestling. It's pop culture. There's a lot that Radio Tekkers is all about. So definitely follow Radio Tekkers on Twitter and do all the stuff and the things. Like, share, subscribe today. We greatly appreciate you guys for tuning in. And have yourselves a great rest of your day.